The present structure was built during the Civil War,
Okay.
the fort itself. And then the buildings around it, some of them dated back to World War I. And where Safe Haven is now, that was a building that was there when the refugees were there. With Fort Ontario, it's played such an integral part in our American history, and particularly the War of 1812, but beginning with the French and Indian War. And then has had a part of our history right through World War II, with the housing of the refugees that President Roosevelt brought over. And and I remember going down as a kid with my father and mother and go for rides, and I always been fascinated with forts, so I wanted to go around by the fort. And so that was back in 1950 or 51. And the fence was still up that was around the fort that the refugees knew. And there was a fence and that was really traumatic for the refugees when they came here to see a fence, because it reminded them of the camps, the concentration camps. But there had to be a fence to kind of keep them in, as far as until they got used to the environs and all that, and also to protect them. So the fence was still there. And then my mother, though I was born in 45, I didn't remember the refugees, but my mother would tell me the story of the refugees and how they were brought over from Europe. So it's always been in my mind and in my life, the fort in some aspect of that. We need the bicentennial of the War of 1812 to tell our people, why the war was so important.
So why was it important?
Pardon?
Why was it important?
Well, it was just it really established us as an independent country. The British. I guess the bottom line is the British found out that we were serious, we weren't fooling, and knew, we really were forging ourselves into a nation, though we were a young nation, and they burned our White House, and we just fought back nobly, and they knew we were strong and determined to become the nation that we've become. So I would think some residents are mindful of that. Unfortunately, I would say the majority of residents probably don't even think of the fort. They might think of it as, oh yeah, it's a place I can take our out-of-town guests or something, or out-of-town visitors, but I don't really think they think that much of the fort. Though they did, was it last year, I think, when the state threatened to close it because of the lack of funds, then people were made aware of it. But I'm not so sure how much the residents, I probably don't think that many of them think of the fort, other than it's an historic place, and it's a place for tourists to go.
And what's happening there recently?
Well, recently, it's a historic site, state historic site, and it's a place where our history is interpreted, from the French and Indian War right through the refugees of the war, at the end of World War II. So it's a place that interprets our history for us. I mean, tourists visit it. It's a site for the reenactors from French and Indian War, the American Revolution. The reenactors come there and camp out, and that brings in a lot of people who are not only from the city, but from beyond the city, if they're interested in that part of history. So it's really a good teaching tool for everybody, not only students and